Hello, Astro friends, and welcome back to another edition of In the Cosmos from the De Anza College Planetarium. Now, we took a little break, but we are back to highlight a special celestial event happening next week, and that event is a near total lunar eclipse. Before we get into that, though, just a reminder to please subscribe to our channel. Every little bit helps. And also, if you could go ahead and click the little notification bell so you know every time we post a new video. We're also on social media, and if you could follow us, we would also very much appreciate that. The links to all of that will be in the description below. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. Now, on the night of November 18th and into the morning of the 19th, that's California time, we will get this near total lunar eclipse. And what that means is that the moon is going to fall within the shadow of Earth. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what that looks like in our simulated view in Stellarium. So here we are simulating the sky here on November 18th, and it's 11:15 p.m. Pacific Standard Time from right here in Cupertino. And by this time, the moon is quite high in the sky in the southeast here, and there's also some familiar constellations that you may find nearby. We've got Orion the Hunter and Taurus the Bull. Orion, of course, famous for his three belt stars. Taurus famous for the V shape there. But notice also that near the moon, as it happens, we have the seven sisters, or the Pleiades, paired up with the moon for this eclipse. So again, just a happy pairing of the two bodies there in the sky. But let's go ahead and center in on the moon now and zoom in so that we can take a closer look at what's happening with this eclipse here. Again, the current time that we have is 11:15 p.m. here, and we'll go ahead and we'll pause there. That's a good enough view, but we'll go ahead and start to speed up time here. And as we do that, you can see that shadow sweeping across and covering more and more of the moon until about 1 in the morning. Just after 1 in the morning is when this eclipse is at its maximum, and the shadow covers as much as the moon as it's going to cover. That's about 97% of the diameter. So again, not a total eclipse, but pretty close to it. Now, if I zoom in even more, you'll notice that the moon actually has taken on this sort of reddish coppery color here. And that's not just in Stellarium here. We expect the same to be true with the actual eclipse in the sky. And you may wonder, well, why does the moon take on this sort of reddish color? It's falling in the shadow. Why doesn't it just turn black or turn dark? The reason for that is because if we've got Earth here, this light from the sun is shining past Earth, but it's also shining through Earth's atmosphere. And as it does that along the edges, or what you would see as the edge, that's where all the sunrises and all the sunsets are happening all over the world. And if you think about the color of a sunrise or a sunset, what color do we typically associate with sunrises and sunsets? Well, typically we think of them as being red. And what's happening is that our atmosphere is actually filtering the color of the sunlight so that there's only red light left over. That light continues onto the moon, and that's what we see as this reddish coppery color here, reflecting off the moon and back to us. Now, after maximum here, the moon will continue to pass through the shadow of Earth here. As it does that, that shadow now, because we are past maximum, will start to shrink away from the moon there. So we can see that white part getting bigger now as the shadow sweeps past here. And the whole thing finishes off about 2:45 in the morning here. Now, this is the view from Earth, but we, of course, can switch things up and take a look at the view from space as well. So using our Digital Sky 2 planetarium software, what we see here, first of all, is the moon orbiting Earth here, and that takes about 30 days for the moon to orbit around once. Now, to get an eclipse, you need that fairly precise alignment of the sun, Earth, and moon here. So here we're shrinking the size of Earth and the moon to their true sizes here, and we're moving ourselves so that we're directly behind planet Earth here, and the sun is well behind out of camera view here. And off in the distance, we can see the moon there. And what we're going to do now is go ahead and zoom up right up to the moon so that we can see that shadow, that red shadow, remember, beginning to pass over the moon there. And so you can see that again, that shadow sweeps across the moon. In this particular case, it's not going to catch the entire shadow. There will be a little bit left over, just a tiny sliver left over that won't be caught by the shadow, but eventually the shadow continues along and the moon passes out from the shadow. And again, the whole thing finished by about 2:45 in the morning Pacific time here. So hopefully that gives you a little flavor of what next week's lunar eclipse will look like, and hopefully the weather will be clear so that we can actually see it. But if you miss it for whatever reason, don't worry, because there is another lunar eclipse happening in May of 2022. That eclipse will be total, and that eclipse will also, at least for us on the West Coast, be happening at a more reasonable hour when the moon is just rising. So hopefully you do get a chance to see next week's eclipse. You don't need any special equipment. You can use just your eyes. It will be fine. If you have binoculars or a telescope, that will add to your enjoyment perhaps, but certainly not necessary. And of course, there are no safety concerns like you would have with a solar eclipse. So just get out and enjoy it if the weather is clear. Until next time, though, this is the De Anza College Planetarium wishing you clear, dark skies and signing off for now.